Hello, everybody. Welcome to an edition of the podcast. I'm your co-host M2 Dave, and I'm here with my co-hosts Crimson, Rio, Tom Brady. Say hi, everybody.
What's up, everyone?
And we have a returning guest, Burrito Voorhees, aka King Jr. Welcome back.
Welcome, Franco.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me again.
Yep, no problem. Let's start talking about, if you guys don't mind, the big announcement that Sony has purchased. I guess the whole copyright of of EVO Evolution as a tournament. What are you guys' thoughts of that? And I believe it was also announced that MK11 is returning. I don't know exactly when this is going to happen, but so EVO is once again alive. And what do you guys think? Let's start with Franco. Go ahead, please.
I don't really have much thoughts on it, but I do know that Mr. Wizard, the previous owner of EVO, had a dislike for Smash in general. So I guess it's a positive that he's not running it anymore. So Smash might have a better representation and a place in EVO now if they decide to have it again. But I know Nintendo has really strict rights for wanting them to have tournaments in general, since they usually try to shut down tournaments for Smash related games.
Right, Crimson.
I think this is absolutely huge, and I'll tell you why. Because the truth is, this is the Capcom community. All right, we don't say it a lot because we like to call it the FGC, but the C in the FGC may as well stand for Capcom, and this is the reason why. Because no matter what happens with the other games, Capcom has always been the heart, and it's always the root of the FGC, and especially events like EVO. So we've known for almost every year until this point that, let's be honest, right? The Capcom games at EVO are never in doubt. What's in doubt is the other titles, right? Sometimes they court Smash because Smash gets they have a huge following. They're always going to show up. But if one year the EVO says, hey, we're not going to have Smash this year, or we're not going to have Melee, even though it's probably the most storied and popular competitive Smash title, right? No one is surprised by that, because we all know at the end of the day, as long as they have Street Fighter, right, it's EVO. And same with MK11, right? I don't think anyone was surprised when they said, all right, we're not having MK11 second year, because every year that they do the announcement stream, right, it's basically the Capcom Illuminati sitting back and going, hey guys, all right, so what are we going to have this year? All right, well, here we go. We're getting towards the end. Who are we leaving out? Is it going to be MK this year? Is it going to be an anime title? Is it going to be Soul Calibur, KI? Who's getting left off the books? And so now with Sony's backing, I'm super excited, because I feel like this is the first time where that is not going to happen. It's no longer a Capcom event. Now it's a Sony event. We all know that MK11 is pretty big for Sony. They have weekly tournaments. I forgot what their tournament series is called. It's probably the number 1 or number 2 selling fighting game on their platform as a whole. So I think for the first time, hopefully, I say this with hope, we'll be able to be recognized as the premium fighting game title that we actually are, instead of being relegated to oh, well, you guys don't have chairs and maybe you won't be here, or maybe if you give us enough money or donate or whatever that thing was, then we'll put you in. So I think that's the first reason that it's actually huge for the game. And the second is that, hey, it's Sony. Now they can put EVO on the official PlayStation channel. To broadcast it there, I forget how many followers that Twitch channel has, but it's a lot. If you combine their YouTube, their Twitter, their other social media, this is a level of promotion that EVO has never had. So for those two reasons, I think it's actually absolutely huge for us. And yeah, I'm just excited to see what it brings.
All right. I think what you're saying is they'll be more fair to non-Capcom fighting games, right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, you never know for sure, but the thing is, Sony has been promoting MK11 on a regular basis anyway, which makes sense. It's a huge seller for them. So, and we all know, right, the NRS community was always devastated if we didn't show up at EVO, but to them it wasn't really that big of a deal, right? To Mr. Wizard, he wasn't going to sweat if we weren't included in the lineup, and so this is the first time I feel like we actually have a chance to be a first or second class citizen.
All right, Rio, what do you think?
I think it's a mixed bag. I personally think it's a good thing, but everything I'm reading is kind of leaning towards people not knowing what's really going to happen in the future. Like right now, everything seems really good. Big company like Sony's picking it up. They have the power to do so much more than EVO ever could. Like, just imagine, everyone who owns a PlayStation right now, Sony could implement something where everyone who has a PlayStation, when you open the game up, there's this little EVO tablet or whatever on the side. You click on it, tells you what EVO is, where it's at. Now the millions of people that own a PlayStation will now know of EVO and all this, and that will draw all those people in. But regarding the games and the communities, I do see there being sort of a question regarding other titles like Smash or Xbox Fighters. I don't know how Sony's going to do that. Is Nintendo really going to want to play ball with Sony hosting their Smash there? What if they do their own Nintendo tournament? What if Microsoft does their own thing, you know? I feel like later down the road there's going to be a split off, and it's going to become a lot. It's going to become kind of like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, right? These companies are going to be in charge of doing what they want, and other ones aren't going to want to play ball. So I have no clue what's going to happen to Smash. Regarding MK though, there's a lot of troubling opinions. Like, right, I've been reading a lot of people are kind of upset that MK's back, because, you know, a lot of people kind of want the game to die, and it's odd to see people going like, why is MK back? So dumb. No one's going to sign up, this and that. But I think for this year, because it's all going to be online, there probably will be people entering, you know, because it's EVO. You win an EVO, it's a big prestige to have to your name, no matter if it's online or offline. But for the future, I don't know where it's going to go from here. So I think it's best to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, that's a great point about how the other fighting game companies are going to react. You know, about Sony, especially Nintendo, which could be huge. Not necessarily fighting game companies, but, you know, console developers for that matter. That's a very, very good point. Tom, what do you think? EVO, MK11? What are your thoughts?
I don't know what it means for MK as far as MK11 goes, but I mean, it's a bigger platform. Sony has a lot more reach, especially when it comes to media and exposure for a lot of these games. Could be a conflict because pretty much PlayStation is also a direct competitor of a lot of these other things. And will it be something where they turn it into games on PlayStation only? So maybe Nintendo would have to do their own thing, to Rio's point. A lot of speculation. I think it's a good thing overall, but just really early right now. It's kind of wait and see where everything falls.
All right. Well, I also want to talk about the tournament that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So we have, and I want to thank Franco for sending me this picture over, you know, in our local chat. Yeah, for the We Play tournament, which is going to take place in the Ukraine, again, if I'm not mistaken. So we have Sonic Fox, Foxy Grandpa Gurr, Mr. 5000, Deca Master, Dizzy T, The Mighty Unjust, Hayate, Biohazard, Video Game Zio, Conqueror, Arn Kratos, Dragon, Rewind 2 Easy, and Combat. So that is your lineup of players who are going to be participating in that tournament. Any comments on that one? I think the lineup, no offense to the previous lineup, this one looks a lot more intimidating, if I may say. What do you guys think? Crimson, you're laughing? Well, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, this is it. This is the tournament we've all been talking about, right? For however long, the online scene has been doing a really good job of sort of like keeping momentum going, right? Like having events, actually getting players paid on a consistent basis. A lot of it from community support, just regular people donating and stuff. But there's always been this question in people's mind, and we've even said it on the podcast, like, okay, but what happens when you get all the top players together in one place, right? And
offline as well, more importantly, right?
Offline,
yeah.
Offline as well too, definitely. But even just to have, you know, Sonic, Hayate, Dragon, Combat, Rewind, all these guys playing against each other again, it's not something that happens really often. And I know that we've had some players who are really starting to make waves in Champions of the Realms and stuff like that. Like Unjust has been doing really well. He's been making a ton of top 8s. He even won recently, I think, the Champions of the Realms and stuff like that. Also, guys like Too Easy are making a lot of noise. And the last time that Conqueror was at Woofle, he made a lot of noise. But a lot of people are asking, okay, so these guys are doing well. What happens when Sonic's there? You know? What happens when the entire bracket is stacked with top players? And I think, aside from Ninja Killer, who's probably the only player missing, it's hard to get more stacked than this. So I'm really curious to see what happens now that we have everyone back together. And I don't think it'll be as predictable as people think. I think there'll probably be some crazy upsets and things like that. So that's what I predict. I think it should be fun.
Well, I'm gonna ask everybody. Hope you guys don't mind the question. Give me who's gonna be. I'm not gonna ask you to pick the winner. I think that's ridiculous. But give me like a grand final. Who do you think is gonna? I think there's a good chance that Dragon. I'm thinking Dragon and Sonic Fox in the grand finals, just based on obviously Dragon how well he's playing and how strong Setron is, and obviously Sonic Fox is who they are. So, King, give me a grand finals. Maybe not necessarily. What's going to happen. Maybe something you
Burrito.
would even like to see. Yeah, Burrito, go ahead. King Jr.
Did you name all the 16 players?
Yeah, I just did.
Okay.
I can repeat them if you guys want me to. King
Yeah, I
Jr.
remember all the players. I can name my picks if you want right now.
Yeah, for the grand finals. Who's going to be in the grand finals? Give me
I think it probably depending on what happens, because Kombat, he won the last NA East or whatever, and he had to beat Sonic to do that. So, assuming that Sonic and Kombat don't play each other until the very end, I think it could be Sonic and Kombat or Sonic and Dragon. But I could see Kombat bumping Sonic into losers, and then maybe Dragon and Kombat make it far in the winners bracket or something. It depends on how the seeding goes, I guess. But
yeah, of course.
I would say my top pick is Sonic Fox.
Ria.
I'm gonna have to go with Tekken Master because right now I'd say overall he seems like the strongest player right now. He's got a good mix of discipline with the game. He actually likes the game, puts in a lot of effort, and it definitely showed last time he played at the Wooflu. Sonic Fox, while they're very good, I feel like the one thing that holds them back is they're not really taking MK11 as serious as they could. Like, they're playing a bunch of different games, this and that, but their talent is enough to carry them in this, so I could easily see a grand finals being Tekken Master and Sonic, but I think the person that's going to take it again is, I'm going to have to go with Tekken Master. I think he's going to get the win again on this.
Interesting take. Tom, what do you think?
I don't really know. I've never been a fan of the top 16 kind of stack thing. It's like taking the NCAA tournament and saying that make the top 16 teams play. That rarely happens because upsets happen. People who aren't supposed to win do win. I think it's kind of counterproductive to the spirit of competition to say, let's line up who we know are the top 16 players. The top 16 players change from Monday to Friday, all day, every day, and tournaments show that constantly. It'll still be a hype tournament, though nonetheless, it'll be something that people need right now. I'll probably go Tekken Master and Tweety for grand finals. Tweety has been on the grind a lot. He's been practicing.
He's not in the lineup. I'm sorry.
He's not in the tournament.
Oh, he's not
He
going?
got
I thought he was
invited.
going.
He
didn't
got
go?
invited, but he
said he
didn't,
was going.
accept.
No, he's not one of the 16 players.
Oh, okay. I would go Tekken Master and Kombat actually.
Okay.
I pick Kombat constantly, and I think people don't know who's playing, who's practicing, or who's been laid off from competition, so to speak. But I think Kombat's probably a guy that I would pick to be in the grand finals to kind of show up.
Kombat's super talented, but I feel like I don't think he's been playing the game that much for the past 5 months. That's why I don't think he'll.
The only thing I know
be the
about
one to win it
is him and Sonic had a set recently. Sonic had posted it on YouTube, I think. So the reason I'm saying Sonic is partially because I think unless those are old YouTube sets or something, which I doubt, he's probably been grinding, with Sonic. So assuming that they're both playing and grinding, I think Sonic's going to be at the top again, where we normally see him.
I mean,
Okay, I want to ask you guys. Who's that one player? 5,000. What's his name?
MR5000.
Yeah. What's the lore in this guy? How good is he? Who does he play? What's his play style?
Honestly, I don't know anything.
No one knows anything about this
I
person.
heard he went to an Injustice 2 tournament. I think he's representing Africa or something. I don't know much about him either.
Yeah, but I mean his character. Like, what's his play style? How does he play?
Yeah, that I don't know.
No one. There's no footage of this guy playing.
He's totally a wild card. Like, what was the guy last time from Ukraine that came? I can't remember his name.
Was it the Cabal player?
I'm
No,
trying
that's
to-
Dubasic.
Yeah, not him. We knew him, but there's a guy that was straight up like just from Ukraine. He's like the hometown hero. Anyway, I
He
forgot.
played
his name.
Noob. Yeah, I forgot his name too though. But he played Noob.
That's wild to me that there's like no footage of this person playing.
Maybe it's in his advantage. Who
What
knows?
if he's the chosen RoboCop player or the Shao Kahn master? What if he just does things? You never know, man. There's people out there that have these weird play styles that just make things work sometimes.
Well, I think it is a first to 3, is it not? So there's definitely a little bit more than usual time to adapt. And no disrespect to other regions, but I think America is, as far as talent and competition, is still by far the number one. I'm not saying that the other.
I mean, America wasn't even in grand finals last Wooflu though.
Well, was Sonic Fox there?
Yeah, but were the people that went from here not good?
No, they were good, but they're not Sonic Fox and Kombat good.
I mean, I think there's a lot of potential for upsets, and the reason why is kind of what Rio was talking about earlier, right? Like, our scene is not good enough to the point that even Sonic cannot rest on like their raw ability, right? Because Sonic is usually most vulnerable when he's learning a new game or when he's not playing the current game as much, right? We saw that happen with like the Injustice Pro Series finals where he lost to Dragon and he lost to King also. So I think a lot of this tournament, as far as what happens in the bracket leading up to grand finals, is going to depend on who's really sharp right now. And we know players like Bio that have been playing the game a lot are probably capable of upsetting almost anyone if they're not at the top of their game.
Yeah,
So-
I think one sleeper pick is Unjust too. He's like my honorable mention in my bracketology like predictions.
Yeah. In my opinion, right now the best American player since Ultimate came out that's going to this tournament is Unjust because he's been the most consistent.
Yeah, he's like
All
won
these
the
tournaments
most
every week
ESL
he's been winning.
points
Exactly.
or something like.
He's right now going into this tournament. He has the most accomplishments online since Ultimate came out in all these tournaments. So he's probably the best player going there right now in Mortal Kombat 11 in this post patch. I'm not saying that Kombat and Sonic Fox and other players that are going from America aren't going to outdo him because they definitely could. But right now, results wise, Unjust is prominently good. Like his results speak for themselves. What he's been doing since Ultimate came out in all these tournaments, he's super dominant.
Yeah, and then Hayate also is kind of a wild card, right? Like over the course of MK11, we've seen he's had some like more disappointing performances and also some extremely amazing performances. So when he's at the top of his game, he can compete with a lot of people who are in the top like 4 or 5. You know?
Yeah, that you bring up
And when he's not,
Hayate.
Yeah,
You see his Twitter video with his movement. He didn't mess up one dash cancel from
Yeah.
one stage to the other side. Oh man, I want to see that in tournament. That movement.
yeah.
And I do want to give a also shout out to Foxy Grandpa as well, who also plays a lot and grinds as much as anybody else.
Dave, I'd be very careful right now because he's going into that tournament with RoboCop. You may not see RoboCop.
Oh, he's using
buffs if he
RoboCop.
does
Oh,
well.
then he's gonna do shit. I'm not.
No, he's actually doing pretty well with RoboCop. Actually, I'm very curious to see how he plays with him against these people playing top tiers at a very high level.
If he picks RoboCop, he's a fool.
Yeah.
No, I'm not joking. He's actually been playing a lot of
I
RoboCop.
know,
Like, he's been grinding the character.
I don't think people like I don't know, people like Sonic Fox and Combat and Hayate are too concerned about.
Dude, actually, I've heard that RoboCop is not a bad pick against Joker. I don't know if Sonic Fox knows this, but he better be ready. I heard that matchup is actually not bad for RoboCop, so we'll see if Sonic Fox decides to stick it out if they run into each other, if he has a backup for that.
Well, I guess that's what we're gonna be watching for. You know, if anybody can, you know, do something that we haven't seen before. Can anybody surprise somebody with a character pick? That's gonna be interesting to watch, and I know I'm definitely gonna be watching. But let me I want to transition to, if you guys don't mind, talk about, because there's still this whole discussion about this patch that's supposed to come out sometimes soon, I guess. And I think Tom did a very, very good video analyzing. Tom, if you could give us a brief summary, because there's still a lot of speculation going about this patch when it might come out. What conclusion did you arrive to?
Just really quick, the best case scenario, like obviously, like things are different with online series than offline one, where you have to wait until the next offline event, and however long that is, that's how long you got to wait between the last qualifier and the final. Things are a lot different online. The last qualifier ends June 6th. So let's just say, like, hey, they're on the ball, and they announce in May we're going to give the competitors like an extra week to rest up, to grind. I'm going to be a little less optimistic here and be a little more real than I was in my first video, because it's so many regions and it's top 16, not top 8. So I'm going to say it's going to about 3 weeks. You can't do it all in one day. You can't do it all in one weekend. Too many time zones. You got to have time. Something could go wrong, troubleshooting. So I'm going to say the finals will be the 20th, the 27th, and probably the 4th of July. Not the 4th, but maybe let's just say the 20th and the 27th. They do it over those 2 weekends, Saturday and Sunday. So realistically speaking, let's say the 27th it's over. The Pro Series is over. That's in June. Now we get into July. They may announce something on maybe that week, the first week of July. So you have the 4th to kind of marinate on a trailer of like the new game. They may not. And then they're obviously probably a combat pack. You want to market it, so they'll probably, do a combat cast for it, let everybody know, hey, this is coming out. Probably break the characters down over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. Timeline-wise, you're looking at probably the last week in July to the first week in August. 9 months from when we got Ultimate, 5 to 6 months from now, and that's probably the best case scenario. They're not going to release something in the middle of a Pro Series. They're not going to change the game. They're not going to change the characters, because tournaments are held every week, as opposed to in the past you could put a new character and the next tournament isn't until next month or a month and a half from now, or you could change the game a little bit and Final Combat isn't for 4 months after the last qualifier. To expect a patch to come out on Tuesday and people to have the new characters and the new stuff adapted to by Friday is just not realistic. So that rules out any content until at least end of July, more likely first or second week of August.
I'm not a guy usually who enjoys speculating, because I think it's kind of pointless. But I think when I was watching your video, I thought you made some really good points. And if that's true, let me ask everybody, is that going to hurt the game? Or is it going to help the game? Does it matter? Do you care? Is it going to make any difference?
There's one more thing in between that I didn't account for. I didn't account for this tournament here because I didn't have all the details on all the players. And we'll probably do one more of these tournaments in between now and then. What NRS is probably going to do is look at this tournament here and probably another one of these. And unfortunately, I do agree with Rio. Someone is going to pick some character, go on a crazy run. They'll say the game is fine. We'll get 3 characters and we get no changes. And that's what I think is going to happen.
I have a question for you guys, serious question that kind of ties into all of this.
Go ahead.
Let's say NRS a month from now releases a statement and they say, hey guys, sorry, but we feel that we don't need to update MK11 or do an overhaul. We feel like the game is playable in the current state it's in. What do you think would happen as soon as they release a statement? Do you think the game would instantly die overnight? Everybody would stop playing it? Or do you think people would continue to play until the next NRS game comes out? Serious question.
Well, I don't think it will die. I think the people who like the game already will just continue playing it. The people who don't like the game will quit and not play it again if they haven't quit already. I think that the game needs something new. And not to compare to other fighting games, like Street Fighter just released something new, and there's plenty of stuff I like, there's plenty of stuff that I don't like, but it's something new. Like you have a new gameplay mechanic, everybody can use it, it makes a difference. I think it needs something like that. It doesn't necessarily need to overhaul every single gameplay mechanic, every single character, right? Because I don't know how feasible that is. But it needs something to freshen up the game in some sense. whether it's nerfs, buffs, again, more content, maybe changed, whether it's the breakaways or key failables, stuff that we have talked about over and over again that many people don't, many people dislike. I think it needs something to that extent. And if game doesn't get that, I think there will be, I hate to use the word consequence, but yeah, community will respond in a very, very negative fashion. And
Right, because I'm very curious as to what would happen if there is no overhaul. Because to me, what it looks like, I think this game has so much momentum going into it right now that regardless of what NRS does, I think all the people that are joining the game and playing right now in all these tournaments every day are going to continue doing it. And now that NRS is getting, sorry, not NRS, but MK11 is kind of getting uplifted by EVO as being a game, and because Mortal Kombat is so popular, Sony is definitely going to bank on that, and there's going to be more PlayStation events, and it's going to be probably one of the premier games at EVO. I don't really think anything is going to stop this NRS game, patch or not, except for the next NRS game coming out. That's the only thing, in my opinion, that will get this game killed. I don't think it has anything to do with the patches.
I think.
Crimson, you may. You go ahead.
Well, let's let Franco talk, and then I'll speak after.
Fair enough. I mean, let me just present, because you've been a vocal, I guess that's the right adjective here, critic of the game. How would you feel if nothing changed?
I'd be kind of bummed out. Like if they officially said it themselves, like, hey, we feel the game's fine. And are you saying that Rio? Are you saying that they're not going to do any patches? Like I'm not saying you're saying.
I'm not saying. I'm saying they announced that they think the game is good and there's no overhauls. Like they think the game is good how it is. It's playable. They don't plan on doing
anything.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
like in your theoretic situation,
exactly. Okay. Yeah, until the next NRS game comes out. Like that's it. What you see is what you get until the next NRS game. But what I'm saying is not really how you feel about your personal opinion. I'm saying, what do you think will happen to all the people playing right now, the whole community, that how everything is right now? You think all that is mysteriously going to vanish and disappear? Or do you think it's still going to go strong until the next NRS game?
Okay.
The way I see it, I don't think this is going anywhere. I think everybody who has cemented their feet into what MK11 is right now with all these events, tournaments, I think it's just going to keep growing.
So getting the clarification from his question, I think, I'll say my personal opinion, then I'll say the overall effect. In my opinion, it's not going to get me back into competing. Like that just loses all hope for me in the game, for myself at least, for getting back into it. Like if that was the case, I'd be really sad because as a Garrus player, I never got to take away or add time to the clock by 30 seconds because it's banned and has always been banned. But overall, for the community, with the Sony announcement and these We Play events, I think the diehard MK11 fans will still keep playing. The people running the tournaments like Outworld Television, Mr. Aquaman having his Coliseums, Destroyer and Caboose running Champions of the Realms, Echo running Defend the Realms. I think they'll continue to do their events because, they don't play the game, or they might play the game, but they don't compete in their own events that they host. So they're going to keep hosting those events probably. So I'm sure the game is going to stay alive. You might lose some people now that they know from NRS in that theoretical situation that there's not going to be anything new until the next NRS game. So you might lose the people that keep playing it but have hope for the game. But at that point, there's no hope for those people that are playing it just for the fact that there's hope in the situation.
Yeah, so in a way, you can kind of be like, wow, in some weird way, MK11 has found a way to self-sustain itself in no matter what. And it wasn't really like this in Injustice 2 and MKX. Those games actually were on the decline heavily, even when their last patches came out. But I don't know what changed with MK11. Maybe it's because COVID. But right now, the community has been the strongest it's ever been behind the game. Aside from, the vocal people that hate on it. But I'm talking about like people playing. Like the fact that I'm able to get on Monday at 5 a.m., go to Comet League and get a match instantly. To me, that's crazy. Because in the past games, that would never happen. Like that just was not possible.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, 2 years in on top of that.
Honestly, I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. And that is because when you release a statement, that's a pretty big thing. You know what I mean? Like, to not say anything in some cases is honestly better for momentum, because the minute that you come out and release the statement and say, yeah, we're done, then it kind of creates this feeling like, oh, okay, well this game is dead in the water until who knows long, you know. And I think on top of that, I doubt that that's what they want to do. The reason why is, you know, there's some sites and some journalists that are speculating that the next game is going to be farther away even than people think, right? That it's not like it's coming in half a year or a year or whatever, because they put callouts for hiring people for basically like the beginning stages of a new title. So if you think about if they're starting now, it's going to take them likely at least a couple years, right? At least that's what the speculation is. And so I think if it's going to be a few years before we get the next title, they have to do something with this one. I think not even just for our sake, but even financially, I think it doesn't make sense to have a title that's out there that people are playing and not release something for it, be it DLC or whatever. So I think it makes sense to patch it. If you can't add totally new content, like Tom is saying, at the very least, if you can retool a couple of the characters that are already in the code but not released, right? Like, you know, Cyrax and stuff like that. And if you can just use the balancing tools that we have, right? Redo the slots, you know, redo some frames. Like, if you already know that the game's been mostly as it is for the last couple years with pretty conservative tweaks, and you want to revitalize the game, knowing that the next game isn't coming super soon, the best thing you could do is to be less conservative patching, really throw a wrench in there and shake it up, you know? And if anything else, that alone will give something that can hold people over for at least another year or something like that. So that's why I think Dave is kind of like between what you said and what Rio said. I think if they make a statement, I think that's a pretty deep thing. But I think if they can find a way to at least do some updates, even if it's just reusing the balance tools we already have to make characters better and stuff like that, I think that'd help a lot.
Yeah, but like making a statement or not making a statement, I think it matters though, because there's some of us that, you know, like I'm still waiting for that MK9 patch, that MKX patch. I don't know when we're gonna get it, but I'm still hopeful because they haven't said that it's not gonna happen, right? So it may happen one day. Who
Well,
knows?
that's the thing. They're never going to make a statement because it's not beneficial.
But that's the thing, though. So it technically MK9 could get patched by them, like maybe a few years from now. Who knows? But what I'm saying is, what if NRS did like a Mortal Kombat? What if they did Ultimate Mega Edition? And what this would do is it would basically make it so whatever character you choose in Mortal Kombat 11, there's no more customs. All of your custom moves become your character's base moves. They could do that, and I'm sure people would have a lot of fun with that version of the game. Think about it. We had Ultimate
That would be awesome.
Edition, and then they release months from now, 3 months, I guess, when the tournaments are over. They can release Mega Ultimate Edition, and that basically makes every character a super character. You get all of your custom moves rolled up into your one character. So that way everybody gets a big move list, they have all their moves, they can play how they want, and I think that would make everybody happy.
For one, it's the game is not self-sustaining. The community is not even self-sustaining it. It's hope that's self-sustaining the game. We see the potential. We don't know anything. There's no statement. So hope goes a long way. A long way, you know, to keeping people
But
going.
is it really hope, or is it the fact that if they release a statement, what are we going to go back to? We're not going to go back to MKX or Injustice or MK9. Where's there to go back to?
Nobody has any hope. There'll always be people that keep playing it, that play it. I mean, I would say a vast majority do not like or enjoy the game, but there are people who are still going to play it. So it'll never be dead, so to speak. People will continue to play it. We play will try to do its own thing. You know, everyone else will try to do their tournament still, but it's really hope. If you take that hope away, even worse than, just as bad as the announcement is, we wait for this patch and they resell us 3 characters we already own and no changes to the game. Anything bare minimum, I don't see how it survives. It'll limp along, but it won't survive very long. As far as
Tom, my question is, if you're in a position where you've gone through COVID, right? A lot of people have left. There are people you had basically on whatever they call it, like not salaried, but paid by the hour, that you can't retain in QA and stuff like that. If you can't completely do a new mocap character from scratch, why would you not put Cyrax in the game? Like, what's the justification behind doing nothing when you could at least do something?
Because because that is, how do I say this? That is less than the least possible. That is literally, instead of doing what every other company did, because people have made every excuse in the book for NetherRealm. It's COVID. Give them time. Every what's the word I want to use? Every, I don't know, whatever has basically give time, be patient, etc. For us to be patient, and they say, hey, those characters you already own on your disc or your digital content, we're going to resell them to you, only make them playable. That is literally double dipping.
But didn't they already do that with Terminator?
They are.
So what's the big
It's
deal?
not the same character as Jason, though. So they are basically double dipping in their profit, basically taking something from nothing, selling it back to you, and addressing not a single.
Wait, but I'm very confused. Why does DLC have to be mocap from scratch for it to save the game? Like, if they were to make the next patch and they tweak things that have nothing to do with mocapping, like changing the gravity, making custom moves become part of characters' regular movesets, tweaking frames, getting rid of wake up rolls, getting rid of false block, all these things that people don't like. There's no mocap going into any of this patch. Would that not could be considered an overhaul or saving the game, even though they did literally zero mocapping?
I mean, it would have to be a pretty heavy change to the game. More so the characters, the way they play, than anything at all.
Yeah, but those are massive changes, though. Rescaling the gravity system so everybody's combos are twice as
Not a
long.
problem.
Getting rid of fatal blows, getting rid of wake up rolls, giving characters new.
Doesn't make it any better on this.
Yeah, but I'm only mentioning it because it's a heavily requested change that people want. People don't like fatal blows.
Did all that. Even if you did all that, people would still say the game is bland, the game is boring. And not that the system itself does need tweaks. The system doesn't need an overhaul. You could tweak the system. What needs an overhaul are the characters. And
yeah, so making their custom moves become their base move set, that would be changing every character, making them play differently. Because now you would have these different moves at the same time. Like, for example, Sub-Zero. You can't have Creeping Ice, his launcher, his Arctic Trap, his Cold Shoulder, all that at the same time, right? So physically right now you cannot do that. But if they were to do that...
no different.
Yeah, but you would have more options in what you want to do, though. Like, some Sub-Zeros would play more around Arctic Trap.
No, they would.
Some Sub-Zeros would be more aggressive and go for the combos. You would have all your tools available at the very least.
The Arctic Trap is unusable. The Ground Puddle is unusable.
Sure, but for them to change Arctic Track, they don't have to re-mocap it. All they have to do is change the frame data or give it a meter burn option where you do it and it recovers.
You're saying is, though, NRS has already established ground rules, and I have accepted this, which is why I'm just like he is the way he is.
No, it's not NRS that has established it. It's the community that has told NRS that they can't do things.
NRS has established ground rules. You can't have a 50-50 and this move, or that move. You can't. It cannot be done. So
why does NRS think that, though? What led them to believe that they can't make characters like this?
I don't know why they think that. It's not my whatever. The characters are the way they are. I had to accept it. These are the rules they put in place, and no matter what they do, they're going to keep those type of rules. I think they're always going to be conservative. Scarlet versus Cetrion. They're the same character. They're both mid to long range characters. Only Cetrion's teleport is ridiculously fast in its recovery. Scarlet's is minus 1 billion. Because, well, that would be broken if she had this. Yet Cetrion does. Cetrion could do her teleport in the air. Scarlet can't. Because for Scarlet, they think it would be broken. For Cetrion, it would. Cetrion is an offensive goddess. Scarlet, they put gas in everything.
Scarlet has things that Cetrion doesn't.
But they're both the same character. But Scarlet,
not really. They're
very similar characters. Yet Scarlet, they went overly conservative on because you can't.
Well,
have this
is what happened when Scarlet was playing. This is why Scarlet is not that good in this game, and why Cetrion's good. Because if they put Cetrion in the beta before the game came out, everybody would have complained how dumb she was, just like people did to Scarlet. They would have kind of forced NRS to tone the character down. That's why if you noticed, all the characters from the beta to launch game, Baraka, Scarlet, Jade, etc., they all got toned down from the beta. You want to know why? Because back in the beta, when everybody was playing the game and trying the game out, people didn't like playing against Scarlet and getting pushed back, blocking her tongue, and having her do more damage and this and that. She got toned down because it was through feedback. So, the reason why Cetrion's so good is because she was lucky enough to dodge the bullet, which is getting put into a beta before the game releases. Because if they put Cetrion in that beta, she would have been
It wouldn't
obliterated.
matter.
They would have, if they left Scarlet to be put into the game, not in the beta, it would be roles reversed. Setron is very
but
lucky
the
she wasn't put in
the
the
game
beta.
has been out
The
for
game has been out for like hold on.
2 years.
Just
2
because
years.
I can't keep going over this in a circle.
No, I understand that, but the beta was more. It was a lot more concentrated with character focus because there were 5 characters to choose
Listen,
from. Really.
there are 2 things.
So sadly, Scarlet was one of the characters, and she is what it is, man. People
This is why
didn't like what she
nobody
was
gets any
doing.
changes. This is why the characters being in the beta got almost nothing changed that would affect how they play now. The characters are as watered down as they can be, beta or not. The characters who are
That's
watered
actually
down will
not
be
true.
watered down. The issue is
Scarlet's zoning was much better in
it's
the
just
beta.
time to just accept the game is the way it is. There are tournaments for it if you want to play. Tournaments to
I've
watch.
accepted the game for what it is. That's why, to me, if they were to patch the game or not, I'm still gonna play it. Like, it's not.
I'm just saying.
You know, I'm not over here bent over backwards, going like, "Damn, if they don't patch this game, it's over for me. I can't play it anymore." Like, I'm not in that position.
Look, I
know,
love
but
Mortal
many,
Kombat.
Many people are though.
Yeah, I want to be able.
I
to
understand that, and I'm also in that same position for games like MK11. I'm still waiting for that patch to come.
I mean,
So I get it. Like, I'm still there too.
Why are
you
you
know?
still talking about MK? That's such an absurd.
Because I'm still waiting for the patch to that game to make that game fun
the
for me.
game has.
all right. So we're going back in a circle where Rio is bitter because one game couldn't be fun for
No,
him.
no, I'm not.
So
no, I'm
game
not saying
can be
that.
fun for anybody
I'm not
else.
saying that.
That's
I'm
pretty much
saying
my
that I
observation.
understand your hope because I'm in that same.
Yeah.
I've been in. Look, Tom. I've been in the same position you are right now for MK11 with MKX for 7 years, so I understand where you're coming from.
It's just,
totally
it is the way
get
it
it.
is. I just accept it, and unfortunately, I can't play it as much as I want to. I haven't played it in months, and I would love to be able to play it, and it's just I'm about as over it as can be. I think a lot of people are, and if we don't get any,
Well, I mean, if they give you the ice puddle next patch
No.
and they give characters
Nope.
more customs,
they give me the ice puddle, I'm still not playing it. Nerf a move and then make me look at it for a year, and then give me the nerfed version. I'll pass on that. Maybe if I didn't
okay. What if they unban ice puddle and they buff it for you? Would that make you play?
need an overhaul. NRS gets away with too many half-ass things to try to appease people to bring them back. And the reason also, by the way, why characters won't work is there are several YouTube videos by people who are making note of how impatient the NRS community is. They, besides myself, they also reference Sonic's tweet about no content, and they were saying, hey, it's only been 3 months, 3.5 months. Why so impatient? You guys get a lot of content. The problem is characters are not the issue. Even the reason why 2 months, 3 months after we just get a bunch of characters, we're like, where's the new stuff? Is because the characters, they could put 1 billion characters in this game, doesn't matter. The problem is the game in which the characters are placed. They're too watered down. Most of the characters do. I've played fighting games for a long time. When micro duck is considered an advanced tactic, when it's the most basic tactic in the history of fighting games, quickly ducking a high and then rising to counter it. I don't know what people think about previous games, but if you think we stayed ducking for 10 seconds and then slowly rose to punish that, every game punishing a high requires.
Well, it's because whenever we have other mechanics like floss blocking, people say it's dumb and it shouldn't be like that. So now that we have mechanics like that getting removed, what else do we have?
My
but
point
ducking under
is the most basic techniques are considered cutting edge, high level tactics because the game is very simple. It's very watered down, which is why characters who are top tier, who are, in my opinion, not super powerful, people want them stuff taken from them because they're like, well, if these characters can't do anything, then these characters shouldn't be able to do anything. NRS needs to do a patch in which they say, fuck it,
Well,
we're done being
my question is,
conservative.
why do you think NRS is about removing stuff instead of adding stuff? Why is that? What is directing them to go in that direction?
If I may interject, and also, I would like to involve King Jr. comes into the discussion. I'm in the camp. Some people are going to protect NRS no matter what. We've seen this in the community. We've seen this in this podcast, many episodes. It goes on and on and on.
No one's protecting NRS. We're trying to figure out why NRS is doing what they're doing.
If you feel like you're being spoken to, I'm sorry. I wasn't talking about you. but apparently
No. I'm just
By the
trying
way,
to figure out
disclaimer
why
for you
NRS is
let me
doing what they're
finish- let
doing.
me
in the
finish my
YouTube
statement.
comments, I didn't bring up Sub-Zero. Reader brought him up, so I apologize for addressing Sub-Zero.
No, I had to bring up Ice Puddle because
Well,
that
I
was one of the
apologize
reasons you
for
kept
addressing
telling
the
us.
Ice Puddle for 2 minutes.
No, you don't have to apologize.
Well,
It's
I
fine
do
if you,
because
if
I
you
know
play
they're going to take
Sub-Zero.
the 2 minutes in the
Well, hold
comments
on,
and
let me
turn it
finish
and
my
say it's
thought,
40
please.
minutes. So I apologize to you guys watching that I mentioned Sub-Zero for 2 minutes.
Let me finish my thought, if I may. I'm in a camp. I think you can do both. You can hold NRS accountable. You can also hold the community, or at least individuals in the community who ask for ridiculous.
It's not really having to hold someone accountable. It's about why is NRS being influenced to do something in a certain direction. Like, remember when NRS used to be about making things laughably broken and silly and not making sense? Why now all of a sudden they have a different change of mind? What happened to them? Like, why have they changed their opinion?
Because that you can make the argument.
I'll
you
answer
know,
last. I want everyone to weigh in on this.
because you can make the argument that they've learned from their mistakes. Maybe they took it over a
But
board.
why were those mistakes though when people enjoyed it? That's what I'm trying to say.
Who enjoyed it? What do you mean people enjoyed it?
People didn't like MK9 and MKX, all the broken and laughable dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they enjoyed it, right? So what made NRS change their opinion of staying away from that and making things be balanced now, or trying to make it be more fair? Why are they
One
about
of the
that
biggest criticism of NRS games from every corner of the FGC was the fact that their fighting game characters are, at least the top tiers, are way too strong. Now, they took that mistakenly and gave us the most watered down fighting game that I've played probably ever. That doesn't. The community has some faults for sure, but to put that blame all on the community.
I'm not mentioning the community. You just did. I
No,
didn't
I'm
say
just
the community.
saying. The
Yeah.
argument.
So why are you saying the community then?
Well, to some people, put the blame everything on the community. That's what shills do. That's literally what they do. I'm not in that camp. I'm holding both parties accountable. I'm saying, okay, NRS overreacted by listening, to people like me who want a better balance, but they turn everything upside down by like, you know what? We're gonna make a game very stale with all these universal gameplay elements, and the power level is fine, but we're gonna give all these other characters kind of do nothing really. Just they play.
All right. So I kind of see what you want then. What if they were to revert all the nerfs in this game? What if they brought back Vanilla Aaron, Vanilla Gears, and then they made Scarlet, other characters like Baraka, they jumped tiers up to that level? Would that make the game a lot fun? Would you find it more competitive,
I think
more
it would be
enjoyable?
better, but most importantly, look, I'm in my 30s. My ideas might be outdated, and if King Junior wants to, as a younger guy, more competitive, who's more engaged in the scene, if he wants to give his ideas, I'm okay with that. Because ultimately, what I want might be outdated, might be obsolete, might be archaic. I may not speak for the
Outdated to what? There's
Hold
not
on,
one
let
way to make
Krim
a
speak
fighting
on
game.
this because Krim
well
and I have
outdated
talked
to
about
in
this.
comparison to, like, I understand it. Outdated as far as like how the older games used to play. Like I think MK9's diversity. That's how I want every game to play, not just like NR. Yeah, but
Let
you
Krim
get the
get on
point.
this.
Yeah, so
Krim has a good take on how we got from there to here.
Yeah, Crimson. How did we get from going to have these fun, explosive, broken games full of tech to now MK11, where everything is it's almost like you have a parent in the room at all times watching you. You can't really play your toys how you want, you know?
Yeah,
Why is that?
yeah, well, I think it's two reasons. Number one, historically, we've been closer to the devs than pretty much any other fighting game scene, right? Most other fighting game scenes, until maybe just the last couple of years, if that, it was like, you got the game, be happy with it. You're going to play this for the next 4 to 6 years, you know? And you're not going to be able to, like, if you guys remember, for everyone that's listening, who hasn't been around, we used to have like the lead designer of the competitive side of our game chilling in stream chats and stuff like that, just watching the stream, giving random opinions, like, talking smack with people and like trading stuff back and forth. And so we felt that we were this close to the devs always, which meant that if you were playing against something annoying, you actually might be able to get it taken out of the game. It wasn't a question of like, oh, this is here, I have to live with it. It was like, well, hey, if I can catch Paulo's ear or this person's ear, they're actually going to change it. And what that led to is a culture where we felt like, hey, if I don't like this patch, the game lasts 2 years, there's going to be a patch every 2 to 3 months. I'll just get it taken out of the next patch. All right? So that was number one, is that, yeah, in every game, there are things that super annoy people to play against. People call them broken, stuff like that. But in most games, You have to hold it. In our games, we really felt like we could get the stuff taken out, and in a lot of cases, we have. Second thing is, people wanted to feel like they have an even chance, regardless of who they're playing. Right? In our scene, we've had a lot of like character loyalists and people like that who are super proud of the fact that they only play one character, or maybe with a couple counter picks here and there, but that they stick to their. What's that?
You don't like the downside to that, though.
Exactly. People wanted to feel like they can play any character in the game and have an even chance. Now, how do you make that happen? It's not going to happen when every character has these crazy, insane tools, because all it's going to turn into is sort of like a tic-tac-toe kind of situation, right? Or if you have this and I have this, then I have the advantage. And people really wanted to browbeat the devs to the point where no matter who they played, they could have a chance to win. And the only way to do that I can see is to make every character similar, right? If you had Tekken and you had people flying all around the screen shooting stuff at each other and zoning and crazy stuff like that, it would probably create some matchups that were really bad. So I think between those two things, between people deciding, look, I don't want to play, if this is annoying, get it out. If zoning is annoying, get it out. If super rushdown is annoying, take it out. If this match,
throw that in there too.
Right, mid-command throws, I don't like playing against them, take it out. And if this matchup is hard for me, fix it in the next patch so it's not as hard. So I think the combination of those two things is kind of like what got us to where we are now.
I want Franco to weigh in, but I want to say this too. I want to, on Crim's point, because I've been around for a long time, and I've heard this complaining for God knows how many years. But the difference is, in other games, people complain just as much as in every game. But they understand the way games work. For example, I was a big character loyalist. Sub-Zero, we all know. But I understood, look, I want to play the way I want to play. I want him to do this, but I understand this is going to be weak against this. So if I'm playing Rio, who wants to play Cabal and zone me out, I've got to find a way. If I want to play Dave, who plays Freddy and wants to zone me out, I've got to find a way. This is going to be hard. And we accept that. When you're in Street Fighter, you play Zangief, you understand. A good zoner is going to be a hard for a grappler. And the grappler says, well, I want to be a grappler. I don't want them to take that out. So I'll accept that. I'll deal with the zoner. I don't want to say, remove zoning, remove grappling, and now I have a better chance. They're like, for me to be able to do what I want to do and to have my skill sets feasible in this game, I know I have to deal with some stuff. In MK, they said, I want to be a rushdown, like right now. Now we have offense in close. And what are they complaining about now? Wait a minute. When I get in close on you and you have a mid-command grab, when I'm done with my offense, if I block, you throw me. And if I go to jump or attack, you hit me. Mid-command grab, get it out. That's what they say. Because they want to be aggressive. The downside to being super aggressive on a grappler is eventually you have to guard or you're going to get hit. But when you guard, you get hit by a command throw that's mid that you can't break. That's part of fighting games. In Street Fighter, they realize I want to be aggressive, but I can't rush down Zangief because he's going to SBD me 300 times a match. They don't say, here's the solution. Let me rush down, get rid of Zangief's SBD. Because they realize if they get rid of the SBD, then they're getting rid of your stuff too. And they realize there's a balance. Look, there's going to be imbalance within the balance. The balance is normally your skill. Sure, your character may lose this match 6-4, or maybe even a little worse. But because the character has tools that are still really powerful, you can be creative and find ways to win despite the matchup number. In the NRS scene, we say, we just want to get rid of that number. Everything has to be 5-5 across the board. So what does NRS do? The only way you can do that, take everything out. And that's how we got here. But
I'm very confused as to why NRS was listening to that talking point. Why were the people that were suggesting everybody be balanced, everything be 5-5? Why were they given a red carpet rolled under their feet and then NRS had to literally bend down to listen to them and make their game?
I answered that.
Why?
Because you could literally go to a tournament, not even whatever. You could go to a tournament, get your pizza, get your hot dog, sit down, and who are you sitting next to?
The developers.
Ed Boon. Paulo Garcia, right? And you could literally make your case to Paulo right there. And we had a type of access. I went to the very first CEO. And, the developers were always really good in contact with us. And Harada was there, and I'm hanging out with Fab and GM, and I'm like, hey, and something happened, and they were talking about, man, Bruce said, and I was like, well, there's Harada right there, man. Go tell Harada. So they went to talk to him. He thought they were like a fanboy who wanted a picture. they were like, "Excuse me, Harada," and he got his translator and his camera guy, "Hada, hada, hada," and posed with a peace out, like a quick picture, right? And I was like, he thought you got a bunch of idiot pot monsters. You guys were in the grand finals. He doesn't even know who you are. You know, like, and that was the case. You know, they only knew certain high-profile Korean players or some of the Japanese players. They didn't know. But you couldn't sit down and say, "Hey, Harada, I hate this," right? Even in Street Fighter, people felt like, "Hey, you can't." You don't have a direct line to them. You don't have a direct line to them. NRS, you're like, if I go to this tournament, I get to talk to Paulo directly. If I'm in a stream, Paulo pops in, I get to make my case. And people felt that way, so everybody became more vocal about
But
it.
Tom, we are accepting.
So in a way, you're saying that
there's a lot
listen,
of inaccuracies being thrown around. Needs to be corrected almost immediately. First of all, people have done that. Well, not have, but they did it for years when Seth was part of Capcom.
Seth
Even
Kelly.
though- yes, thank you. All this nonsense that you guys just literally wasted 50 minutes, all these lies in the last 15 minutes is just not true. People have been doing this for years in other fighting games. My issue is stop blaming the community for everything.
who's blaming the community?
You're one of the people.
I didn't say anything, but you keep mentioning the community. I haven't said community once.
the
Tom said that the developers listened to the community players that were saying this at events, and that's why MK11 was
Well,
I didn't say that.
look at Crimson's argument. Crimson obviously basically, everything's the community's fault. Like NRS bears no responsibility for the game they made, and let's blame the people who wanted balance or this. What about actually blaming the people who make the game? Is that okay?
All right, Dave. I have a question for you then. Okay, so
let me respond.
Talk for a second, because Franco.
hold on. I have a question.
No,
though.
you guys can
So,
finish this. I'm kind of lost.
Who do we blame? Okay, so Dave, who do we blame for Shiva then? She needs to get toned down. Who do we blame for that? The developers, right? Because she's really
I don't
broken,
think she
right?
was even up. When was the last time she even did anything?
Wait. You don't think? Wait, you don't think Shiva's broken?
No, she's not.
So you think Shiva's fine?
She's 100% fine.
So you would release an overhaul months from now and leave Shiva how she is for the game.
When was
Let
the
everybody
last
stay
time
with it.
that Shiva placed top 8 in the?
I'm not asking for results. I'm asking is she fine or not. I'm not talking about how good she is in
No, I
tournaments. I'm
understand
saying
you don't want to answer the question because.
so. Okay, but I'm just curious. So for your overhaul that you would release a few months from now, you would leave Shiva untouched. You would leave her how
100% I
she
will
is.
leave her untouched.
We have to.
But that would kill the game.
No, it wouldn't kill
According
the
to
game.
who?
Community, like,
According to all the people that don't like Shiva, that's what are you talking
Brady
about?
makes a
She's,
good
you know what-
point here.
hold on a
You
minute.
can't-
Shiva makes the game unplayable
You
for
know
so
what
many
would
players,
kill the
Dave.
game?
That's
You know what would
unfair.
kill the game, not changing the game, which was what you
Okay.
were advocating for.
Well,
Hold on,
let
that
me.
makes a great point, man.
Go ahead, Tom.
Because look, for example, let's say we play has two tournaments. NRS is watching. Somebody comes out of nowhere with some character, and then all of a sudden the community is like, you know what? It was always fine. All you haters out there saying there needs to be a change, whatever. And then 8 months from now, those same people are going to absolutely crush NRS for doing no changes. The problem is they'll tell you it's fine, and NRS says, okay, we're listening. Oh, so we were wrong. This is okay. Okay, fine. And then it's not fine, and then they won't get any. So it's hard to decide: is it fine? Is it not fine? And they do listen. I mean, they do. I mean, if a developer who doesn't listen to their player base is just a bad developer. The problem is NRS doesn't issue any discretion when listening. But at the same time, who they are listening to also has some culpability here.
Right, and I'm gonna respond to Dave's point because Dave brought my name up. Dave, like, this culture is hard for people to understand if they don't go to Japan. But the business culture in Japan in general is not what it is here. Like this, we're sort of at your beck and call, and we respond to your every need, and we're super close with the community and stuff like that. Like, I don't want to stereotype all of Japan, but I'm just gonna say in general, in Japan, it's a different culture. Look at what's happening with Smash. That kind of distance where it's like, hey, we're the company, we're the authority. We decide what to do for you. You don't tell us. Is not unusual there, right? Look at the Smash team. They're playing mid lane. They're keeping it alive for forever, right? They're putting their hearts and soul into it. And from Nintendo's perspective, they're kind of like, well, who are these pesky guys that are still playing the old game? We want them to play.
Yeah, why are they not buying a new game? Spend the money on a new shit. Stop playing that old game.
And it goes so deep into the culture to the point that when you address someone who has authority over you, you use a different honorific. It's built into the culture that like challenging authority is not very standard there. Whereas in America, right, we do this all the time, and to some extent in Europe. So yeah, Dave, those players do complain, but it's not the Japanese culture for you to go and complain to the company to get everything fixed the way you want it to, right? Where some like community lead is going to be on the hot seat if they don't respond to something someone said. Right?
Well,
it's just
I think
not how they
here the customer is always right. It's different.
Well, if there's anybody who knows anything about cultures, I would assume it probably would be me, having lived in 5 different countries. But
have you been to Japan?
Yeah, have you been to Japan? Because we're talking about Japan.
I understand that.
All right, so your 5 countries have nothing to do with Japan. Then.
Fair enough. But I think I'm always from the perspective that the developers make the game. They should be primarily held accountable first, based on if they do a good job, we give them tons of props. If they do something that we don't like, we criticize them. And I understand.
Sure. So should you not flame them for making Shiva broken like she is right now? Should they not be held accountable?
That's your interpretation. I think Shiva. There's definitely a time where I was questioning it. Some people wanted her nerfed. Some people wanted her, nerfed literally the next day. But results, I'm sure I shouldn't say. Results and time have proven otherwise. Like you have 1 player, 2 at most, who are doing something with her, and that's the reality. If the people don't like that,
Dave,
that's too bad.
You keep equating doing something and winning tournaments with if it's balanced or not. How many times do we have to bring up these examples? Captain Cold in Injustice 2. In the beginning, when he had his 100% resets, all that, there was only 1 player making it work. It was Sonic Fox. Even with it only being 1 player that could make it work, was that fun to watch and enjoyable? To see somebody sit there, lame the clock, can't move? No, people didn't like it. They wanted it removed. So why do you keep shielding Shiva from what she is with the argument that she's totally fine because nobody's winning with it? It's not always about winning. Sometimes it's about how the character makes the game look when the character's on the screen. You keep equating it to winning.
Well, I would reply in the following manner. I don't think Shiva is much of an issue as the people who are shielding the game from being overhauled. People,
wait. Shielding the game from whose overhaul?
Again, there are people in the community who do not want an overhaul, who think the game is fine as it is.
What overhaul? What are you talking about?
Again, it can be overhaul to the breakaways, it can be overhaul to the Oki, it can be overhaul to the fatal blows, those overhauls. That certain people in the community don't want that because they think the game is fine as it is. And I don't know what Tom is being shy about his argument. He made the argument for months. These people are the main issue. These people are stopping progress.
So the issue are the players that like the game. We need to get them out of here. We need to do something about that.
No, not the players that like the game.
So how do we go about that? How do we do it so the players that like the game get the boot? Like they become
players
voiceless.
who are shills, they're gonna like the game no matter what. Why are we focusing on those? They're fanatics.
Because apparently the players that like the game are preventing your game from changing.
Well,
so how do we get these players out so your game gets changed how you like it?
Here's the thing. Dave, I half agree with you because I think ultimately the responsibility does fall on the developer. But here's the issue with our community, and this is where this comes together. If a developer draws a hard line and says, look, this is it, we're doing what we want, this is the way we want the game to be, we're not going to listen to all the little complaints, we're going to do our thing, so that the game doesn't end up in the middle where it has nothing, right? If they do that, those changes are... That kind of philosophy is super polarizing. There are a lot of people who just won't like certain games, just like there are some people who didn't like Injustice. There's some people who hated MKX. If they do that, the question is, number one, who do they listen to if they listen to anyone when they want to do their part of listening to the community? And that's a big statement because it can't just be top players, because top players complain about the stuff that affects them more than anything else. And 2 is like, okay, when they finally do this and they say, all right, this is our game, like it or not, tough. The way that we typically dealt with that as a community is to complain, knowing that if you couldn't get the game changed, a new one is coming out in 2 years anyway. Right? So no big deal. But if those players have to sit with the game that they don't like because the developer has gone in a strong direction, like Injustice or MKX, for 5 or 6 years, do you really think people are honestly going to be okay with that, or will they kill their own scene? My guess is they will kill their own scene.
Well, I can't speak for other people. I'm going to speak for myself. I'm perfectly fine with not playing the game ever again. I'm 100% fine with that. I have other games to play. I think there are better alternatives if you want to play a quality fighting game. But I'm not going to trash the scene. If somebody, especially in the podcast, if somebody asks me for my opinion, what do you think about the game? What do you think about, I'll still watch the tournaments. I've always said I enjoy watching the game. I enjoy watching the game more than I enjoy playing it. I will not, if you ask me for my opinion, I will give it to you. If you want to talk about something else, I'll talk about something else. I really don't have a problem with that. But yes, there are definitely haters who hate the game, who will hate the game no matter what. But doesn't make, on the opposite side of the spectrum, the shills, they're shielding the game. And they're just as a problem as the haters are.
Yeah, so what I want to ask you is, how do we get rid of the shills that are protecting the game? How do we get them out of the whole equation? Because right now, like Dave said it, they're pretty much the problem. It's not the NRS or developers.
The
it's
shills
the shills
will
that like the
support
game.
whatever NRS puts out. If NRS changed the game, the
So you're
shills
saying
will
that
shield
if
the game.
wait, you're saying if NRS if they nerfed Shiva, the shills would agree with
The
it?
problem is, the game comes out and the shills are going to swear by the game is fine the way it is. No matter what NRS does, the shills will always shield the game.
Just like the haters will always hate the game.
What's even more unfortunate is there are some people who are shills because obviously they either commentate or make money by making content for the game, whatever. What's unfortunate is, and more telling is, that they clearly, I truly believe most of them in their heart clearly see the problem. But they're actually afraid that if I actually give real feedback that's not, oh, absolutely, sir, this is the best thing ever, that they will lose opportunity. What company?
So the shills don't actually like the game.
What
then.
company can improve their game by ruling with an iron fist?
Tom,
And that's why we have what we have.
I think honestly, none of this is a problem. I think you guys focus so much on the extremes that you're not looking at the real problem of what do you do to fix stuff. The problem is not shills. I can think of maybe 3 or 4 people who might fit in that category. The problem is, rather than hating or liking the game, there's some people who hate or like individual parts of it, and those people disagree. You guys will call them shills if they like something you don't like, but the truth is, people disagree. And so if you're a developer, what do you do? I'll give you one example. Cetrion. Half the community says Cetrion's power level, this is what we want for everyone. The other half says, no, this is ridiculous. She's never hardly unsafe on anything. She gets her perfect spacing back in neutral at the end of every block string. This is not what we want to play against. She's broke. So if I'm the developer and I have to do the overhaul, who do I listen to? Do I listen to you guys?
There's also people that defend Cetrion and say that she's fine, her power level's fine where it's at.
What you want to do, at least, I understand your point, Crimson, and I think it's well made. What you want to do is, people will always bitch, but can they have at least a character that plays the way kind of they want to play? Whether
Dave, people don't like characters like Shiva. How many times have
no,
they
I'm not
you?
again. You're obsessed with Shiva because
No, I'm not. I'm just because Shiva's a good example here. Like Dave, I understand you want. Look, Dave, look, I know what you want because I played you in so many games. I know the games where you have the most fun. You want your pre-patch vanilla Deadshot zoning. You want your Freddy Krueger zoning. Here's the thing, Dave. If you were to put that stuff in this game to satisfy you, you're going to piss off millions of players with your character. You understand that, right? You have full responsibility. I get that, but Dave, you're gonna piss off millions more.
The game that you shield constantly, people are pissed off.
Oh wait. So you're saying I'm the shield, so your arguments are towards me.
You've been asking me questions. Can I ask you one question? Does the game need an overhaul? Yes or no?
What is the overhaul? Tell me. I'm curious to know what your overhaul is.
Whether you want to change the game, or
give me some details. Tell me your overhaul.
Very simple question. Would you like to keep the game the same?
Give me examples of your overhaul. I want to hear what your overhaul is.
Are you going to answer my question?
So wait. Let me get this straight. So you've been campaigning for over a year now for an overhaul, but you don't have an overhaul to give us? What is your overhaul idea?
As does Tom. We've been shared them. We've gotten blown up by shows like you who constantly.
What is your overhaul ideas? I'm curious. If you Dave, I have a question for you.
No,
if you were to put out, Dave, relax. Look, we're gonna get to answer each other. If you were in charge at NRS, you were able to put out patch next month for this game. What would your patch contain? Let us know.
I will give you 3 things off my head that most people would agree with. For example, if you break away, you automatically stay on the ground a little bit longer. If
okay, so long delay after breakaway.
That's right. Fatal blows, If you use them once, that's it. You're done. Whether they get blocked or they get hit, that's it.
So you're telling me that if a Kung Lao player does a combo, does a fatal blow, the hitbox whiffs, their fatal blow is going forever, and they're
That's
punished.
an
for it.
NRS hitbox.
That's what you would do.
That's an NRS hitbox. They can address that. Has nothing to do with my suggestion. Again, those are two right off the bat. Maybe another one if you want to really be.
So wait. Your overhaul would just have extra delay to breakaway
I'm not.
and a
finished.
fatal blow change.
Not-
That's an overhaul?
not
Are you kidding
finished.
me?
You keep interrupting me. Another overhaul would be if you want to go bold, make every move one slot and take it from there and see how that turns out. Again, I'm not saying it's the perfect
That's
solution.
it? That's your overhaul?
Top 3, I don't want to take 15, 20 minutes talking about it because there's no point.
No, Dave, you have the red carpet. If it takes 10
I
minutes to
answered
explain overhaul, go ahead, dude.
Answer my question.
No, but here's the thing is, you're the expert on this overhaul idea. That's why I'm willing to sit here and listen to your overhaul ideas.
know,
If it takes
I'm
you 10,
not
15 minutes,
What
go
about
ahead.
Franco's overhaul ideas? Let him.
Yeah,
Oh,
can
no, I
we-
know. But I just want to get Rio on record for once. I know he's trying hard not to answer my question. Rio, does the game need changes? Yes.
It depends on the overhaul. Here's the thing. I don't like blindly agreeing to
Not
shitty
asking you to agree
patches.
with anything.
that-
Not my suggestion.
I understand Dave would literally cut his wrist and sprinkle his blood on this overhaul patch, not even reading what's in the contents. But me, I want to know what the patch is going to contain. If it's more Aaron Black nerfs, then no. You take your overhaul, shove it up your ass, because I think it's going to be bad.
Well, can we ask Franco like both what he would
Yeah,
do?
Franco. What?
And
I'm very curious, Franco. How would you fix the game? How would you make it fun so everybody enjoys it? Like, what would be your overhaul?
yeah, and after that, Franco, what you would think if you think a change like making everything one slot would make things more balanced or less? I'm curious about what that is.
So with the changes in shortest terms, because like I said, the game needs so many changes in my opinion. Not like where you'd have to go to the mocap studio and reanimate stuff. Not those kind of changes, but
Yeah, please
with
try
what
to
we
keep,
have,
try to keep.
You mean like tweaking the game data, right? Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
frame data,
Most of-
mechanics. Yeah.
Yeah,
most
try
of
to
the
keep it
things are
reasonable.
already in the game. So in my opinion, you don't have to go drastically crazy. But I think you should make everything one slot, have no input conflictions, make some things base moves, like things that don't make sense, make them base moves. Like Melina has different variations of the same move, then they cost moves or cost slots, whereas other characters don't have that issue. Maybe a few cases make brand new moves. Very few cases, like a handful, like maybe 3 new moves. Like, I don't know, give Sonya a new armor breaker, for example, make it flip kick or leg grab. That's what I'm, leg grab, for example. Make it just a simple knockdown that armor breaks, and like stuff like that. But that's not going to be like the majority of the changes. So everything should be one slot, no input conflictions. Make some things base moves, fix hitbox issues, address the Oki wake up system, and make some changes to crushing blow requirements. Make them better, and make the ones that are polarizing, like some of Liu Kang's, like tone them down a little bit, like stuff like that for the most part, and
What
buff the
about
lower
you?
tiers, obviously.
What?
How would you tone down the wake
Yeah.
up system?
I was gonna ask the same thing.
I like the idea that I think it was Crimson's idea originally, one of the podcasts, where like some moves, if maybe you spend a bar, for example, disables the opponent from using rolls. I actually have been making change like little short videos on my YouTube channel where like how I would change a character. It's kind of inspired by Cherney made one video on Nightwolf, and Tom made some videos of his own. So I kind of decided from inspiration of them to make my own videos of how I would change the characters, and they're like 5 minutes long each. I took a little break from that recently, but I'll be back on it at some point. But like, yeah, those change how I would change the wake up system, like what Crimson said, make some things disable roll. Like for example, nobody's going to use cold shoulder with Sub-Zero over slide. So maybe you can make the amplified version disable rolls, and it would give it a use. And that's assuming you also made input conflictions removed, because like slide and cold shoulder conflict right now in the current patch. And I would take away all the bans from every move except maybe like the ricochet shot that RoboCop has, because that's like visually distracting and it's kind of an eyesore. I even looked at it myself and I was like, geez, I can't look at this. Like it's just a goofy move.
What about the throws?
I would give throws less whiff recovery, so you can't duck them on reaction. I'm sorry, you can't react to the whiff recovery on reaction and still follow up with a punish.
Let me give you an
because it
example
makes them
of that.
super
So-
susceptible.
I wanna give you an example of that.
wait. You would buff throws?
No. That's not what he said.
I would buff the recovery.
Okay, I heard
on
less whiff
throws.
recovery.
Let
Whiff
me give you.
recovery.
Let me tell you why. Because right now you could do. Say someone does a delay wake up, and you say, "Oh, you know what? I think he's going to get right up and guard," and you do a throw. The person can do a delay wake up, then get up and say, "Oh, he tried to throw me," and then down to you 100 million frames later and get the most devastating move in the game. So I don't think he means like cut it in half, but probably tweak it a little bit.
I would say like shave off 8 recovery.
Wait, I'm so
frames,
confused though, because people hate throws. Why are throws getting buffed?
They hate everything that's not down one. Rio.
No,
I
but
mean,
one of the things that people don't like about this game are throws, so I'm very confused as to why.
Because
throws get buffed.
The thing I don't like about throws in this game is when you do land them, like the crushing blows. Like for example, I hate getting grabbed by Devora's crushing blow throw with arachnophobia, for example, where she gets the 5 bugs on you. And pre-patch, it would do 39%. And I'm just like, Jesus, dude, 39% for a fucking throw? Are you kidding me? Like, that's ridiculous. I got robbed by Honeybee so many times with that throw.
I have a question for
And-
Franco. I have a question.
You know,
for
like stuff like that is really annoying. But there is other things that suck about throws.
I mean, you could
they're kinda
argue Devora
polarizing.
needs it,
But I
but
want
I
to
guess
stay
if
on the
Devora,
characters for a second. I don't want to go
if
to
she has to be
because
sacrificed,
crushing blow throws, I think, is something that's a system thing that they could look at the requirement of. I have a question for Franco. He brought up Sonya. Let's say NetherRealm is sitting there and they say, I like that idea for Franco. Maybe we could give her like, maybe not, maybe a leg grab that armor breaks, maybe a kiss, maybe some of her other moves, right? What if they say, but you know what? Then she's doing like 50-50s into kiss, into whatever, 50-50 into cartwheel, into this. So what if they have a rule that says she can't have the 50-50 and these moves that you're talking about? What is the solution? If they're
Well,
dead
I mean,
set on,
that's
you
their
can't have
that's
both.
their decision. And
Well,
then
what
at
would
that
you
point,
do,
I can't do
Franco?
anything.
but wait. She's had 50-50s and these moves before, so why is that a rule now?
Because they didn't. Because obviously in this game, kind of like the other character, which until I have permission, I can't mention. There is. They tried to like say, okay, in MKX she did this. We don't want characters doing 50-50s into full combos that because Terminator is not a good zoner like Sonya, or not as good of a zoner like Sonya. So people I believe are a little more accepting of terms 50-50, even though they're not too accepting of it. So what do you do if NetherRealm says we don't want MKX Sonya? You can't have a 50-50 and a leg grab and a cartwheel and a kiss.
This is what you
can't have
do.
it.
You tell them to get rid of the rule, because who made the rule?
Well, what if they say no? Can't have them both.
Then we riot. What do you mean?
I'm pretty sure they're hell-bent on you can't have them both. Then what's the answer?
Then we tell them to get rid of the rule. We've had past NRS games where we had no rules.
I'm not sure that some people want to riot. They're much rather
Well,
defend
Franco,
the game.
what would you do?
Well,
If they
Dave,
say-
I mean,
they
you're head
said
of the
to
riot
you-
squad. I mean,
My point is, what if they said to Franco, you can't have them both? What would you say to them?
I'd be like, I mean, why not? Is there like some kind of rule
Yeah,
book
you have
you
to
guys
ask,
are full
why?
like following all
Well, they
of a
don't wanna-
sudden?
let's say
Do
they-
you guys
they
but
have,
I'm
like, a
curious.
certain
What is NRS's
division,
rule book? I'm
or,
curious who they're
like-
listening
My
to.
point is, it's clear they don't. It's clear and obvious. There's another character in the game where they're like, you can't have this, you can't have that, and this mix-up, you can't have it. And I do think also there's still some like. What's so weird is there are, I call them, well, not the Sonya Mafia, but this other community kind of has like their own mafia, where they feel like an offense must mean 50-50. And if a character doesn't have a 50-50, it means they have no
Are you
offense.
talking about MKX players?
No, it's a character in this
Okay.
game. They have their own like.
Just real quick, Tom. That's another gameplay style I was going to advocate for. It doesn't really favor me. Like, why can't people have good Oki on Wake Up? Because the Oki system in this game is so awful. Why
Well,
can't
they can.
Why
There
can't
are some characters that have good
Why
OP.
can't people have good like plus frames on block like every other normal fighting game does? That I mean, I understand. Again, the style is not for me.
There are characters like
But I mean,
that though,
you can
Dave.
be
It's very
aggressive without a
confusing.
50-50, and you can
No,
be
I-
aggressive
Dave, there's
with
characters in this
50-50.
game that are like plus 60 on block. What are you
The
talking
problem
about?
is NRS
block?
seems to like have a rule. For
Yeah.
some reason, they seem to have a rule in this game where they say you can't. Like ideally, like Rio said, why? Who makes these rules that say you can't have this?
I'm
and
just
that,
curious
right?
who NRS is listening
Yeah.
to and all these rules.
Who makes
I'm
these
very
rules,
confused.
right? Who makes these rules that say if you have this, you can't have
Who's
this
telling
move?
NRS what they can and can't do? It's very
There are
confusing.
reasons
why
why
do
some
we
of these
always-
moves are banned.
Tom.
Some of the moves are banned based on the logic of you can't have this, and the community has even stated you can't have. Like, doesn't matter if it's Sindel or whatever character, you can't have this move and have this. You can't
I
have
can
this
answer
KB screen.
I can
But
answer
why
that
not?
question.
Why?
I'll tell
Go
you
ahead.
why. Because in the past, characters that people identify with one archetype actually had the kitchen sink, right? We have these characters like Freddy and Kenshi from MK9 that people call quote zoners, when in reality they have ridiculous armor, they have ridiculous space control at almost all ranges of the screen, right? Like maybe Freddy wasn't a great like quote rush down character or whatever, but he had everything else that you could want to have. Characters like Zod that have ridiculous zonings and instant air projectiles, but also have mix-ups. They have things that you have to hold even when they're close. So that's the reason why. Because people said, stop making these characters like Martian Manhunter that have this, but they also have this. Make them good at one thing so that they're not good at everything, and then we won't have this ridiculous top tiers. And I think being maybe a little possibly over careful around that is exactly how we got to this point.
Exactly. So they say, Sonya, you already have good projectile. You have a 50-50. Now you want 50-50s into what? Cartwheel mid-screen? In the kiss mid-screen? You can't have all that. Or
What's confusing is Sonya was fine when the game launched. Why was she ever nerfed? That's the confusing thing.
well,
she
not
have
even why
to get
she was
nerfed? Why
nerfed.
was
People
she-
Again,
said she did too much damage.
first
and,
of all,
like with the
But
launcher
okay, but
and
what
stuff,
is too much?
which I don't
what is
agree
too much
with.
damage
I don't agree
though?
with,
What is
but-
too much damage? What does too much damage mean?
can I ask
though?
you a
Like, what?
question?
They talking
Why
about
can't
Cyrex
Sonya
combos?
have kiss, leg grab, cartwheel, etc.? Why can't she?
Because there were games like MKDA where she didn't have moves like that and people thought it was fun. Probably why.
None
So-
of this community played MKDA, and that was a 3D
Sure,
game. So that
but
was-
when you have MK games in the past, like MKDA, where she literally only had Kiss and a Liu Kang flying kick, and then people didn't say that that was an issue, and Russ is like, you know what? They didn't say anything about this back then. Let's do
was
it
a
again
3D
because they
game.
won't mind.
Rio,
I get that, but they could have characters have their moves, you know.
Rio, there's a chance the people who listen to this podcast might not even be alive for that.
All right, okay, so I'm gonna give them the okay. So okay, for the people,
going to
okay, so
MK,
hold on,
MK
real quick. I can't go back to MKX and people are like Real's MKX hater. So anyway,
MK Deadly
look,
Alliance.
real quick,
I mean, come
just to
on,
give
man.
people the Sonya lore and MKDA.
That was before
Sonya,
NRS, dude.
yeah,
That wasn't
but
even
Sonya
That was
in
midway.
Sonya in MKDA had two special moves. She had Kiss and a Liu Kang flying kick. That's it. She had no cartwheel, no lag grab, no onion ring, none of her Sonya moves. That's only reason why I mentioned it, because you have to be able to tell people like what the history
By that
was,
logic,
man.
Raiden shouldn't have teleport. Scorpion shouldn't have.
No, I'm not
Come
saying
on,
what he
man.
shouldn't have. I'm telling you why NRS got away with it. That's what
You
I'm
brought
saying.
up one game in 11.
Again, Tom, the answer is very simple. I don't know why he doesn't want to say it. It's
Look,
their fault.
I don't know why. Look. Okay, so Dave, again,
Excuse
let's talk about the stuff that actually matter. Why was
Rio,
Sonya nerfed
honest
in the
to God,
beginning?
man, I
Why
can't
were her
believe we just did
combos
this.
taken away?
This is
No.
why we argue.
I'm
so much.
serious.
Hold on, this is
Why
why we argue
was
so much.
no,
I
dude?
asked you.
Come
no,
on,
Dave. I want to answer.
because we're jumping everywhere.
I asked you a legitimate question. I asked you why she can't have it, and you said because she didn't have it in Mortal
I'm
Kombat
telling you
Deadly
why.
Alliance.
I'm telling you
Game
why.
that was released
So that
almost
is your
20
honest
years
opinion.
ago.
Your honest opinion. Hold on. I want you right now. In your honest opinion, the reason why characters
Okay,
like her
you
can't
guys are a
have
little
it
too
is because-
fixated on MKDA. What I'm saying to you, because you guys aren't listening, why was Sonya not allowed to combo you in the beginning of the game? Why was that removed? Tell me. Why was that complained about? Why? Why can
This
she
is
not
why
have her
we'll
old
never-
combos?
This is why we'll never have nice things.
Again, he just doesn't want to answer
I
any
mean,
questions. He just
it's
keeps,
because Mortal Kombat did it. That's why you can't talk
bad.
about.
Yeah,
Well, look, we're kind of getting.
Crimson, Franco, do you get what I'm saying?
No.
Why was Sonya in the beginning removed? Why? Why did NRS take that away? I don't
It
I
understand.
mean, I don't know
It still wasn't
why.
Sonya because she had a grab.
Was she
was
was she
Sonya.
too broke? But okay, Sonya was doing big combos in the game launch. Okay, she had big
One
combos.
variation was.
Why was she not allowed to have
One
that? But why
variation
was she
was
not
I
allowed
have
to?
no
combo.
clue. That's what I want to know. I
Well,
mean,
look,
But that's what I'm getting at. There's so many
he wants
unanswered
to blame
questions
the
everywhere.
community again. That's all he does.
look,
I'm not Dave. You keep saying community. I'm not saying any of this. I'm just understanding why NRS is
you
doing
don't
some
want
of
to
these
answer any
things.
questions. You just want to keep asking questions.
okay.
No,
wait
it's
a minute. Hold on, guys. I think this is gonna go in circles, and it's the circle we've been in before.
Yeah, I don't want to go into. I'm done with this.
We're getting a bit off track from what Franco was talking about, and while we have our guests here, I at least want to maximize that.
Well,
and
we
ask
already have
them-
the answer why it's like that, because it wasn't that way in MKW Alliance. We already
Okay,
have
That's
the
one of the
answer.
reasons.
But
I mean,
do
for some
wanna-
reason, people thought it was fine.
I do want to ask Franco, based on the suggestions that you made, if we make every move in the game one slot, and we also enable all of the banned moves, rather than looking at it on a case by case basis, are there any situations where that will put a character over the top to the point where they then become the top tier that is complained about, and the reason that people say everything's unbalanced?
I mean,
I mean,
people
does
are always,
Joker's Kapow need to be one slot? Does he need that?
I mean, people are always going to complain. I mean, like,
Well,
It's
not
just-
even
Yeah, but that's not good enough though.
Well,
People are always going to
Franco-
complain. We have to know why.
Franco, not even the complaining. Even if we take that away, in your opinion, are there any characters where, if we took a generic approach and just made everything the same, where those characters would now be kind of over the top from where they are now?
like if we made everything one slot and
And
no
unban all the moves.
input conflicts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and unbanned moves. I mean, yeah, some characters will get better. Like Garrus will have new play styles with the taking away time and having a one-slotted reverse time, stepping it
What's
back.
wrong with Gears
etc.
being top tier though? This is
He might
I
not
just-
even. We don't even know where he'd be placing.
Yeah,
you know,
but
like
the
everybody,
fact that
every
that was a
character would
problem
have
at
their
one point in
bullshit.
time to me is
That's
crazy
still
though.
not enough for me.
Every character would have their bullshit.
Okay, so
time
wait.
limit,
I feel
except,
okay.
like,
So
Shao
Tom is
Kahn,
saying
assuming
Tom
don't
Frank
change anything
Tom
else.
Franco. What Tom said, Franco, is that your overhaul wouldn't be enough for
Not
him
for
to
me,
enjoy the
because
game.
because I'm
Yeah. So
as much as I hate to
what
agree with
else
Rio,
would you do?
I'm on the side that says, why are there any rules? Why is it not fighting game rules? Why do you say character can't have this and that? And if that's the choice, and you have to make a choice between more depth of the character or a simple fix, get rid of the simple fix and add more depth to the character.
Yeah,
Otherwise-
I'm against this, invisible rule set if that even exists. Like I'm one against rules, I'm not trying to make simple fixes. I was just naming short, quick fixes for the sake of the podcast and the time of the episode, But like
You know what, Franco?
if I was
This whole
NRS,
rule
I
set
wouldn't,
talk. Franco, this whole rule set talk has me thinking now, because think about it. The reason why Noob Saibot doesn't have his portals in this game is probably because of the rule that he has good footsies. So maybe Noob has to have terrible footsies like MK9 to have his portals back. I don't know. We don't know what these imaginary rules are. Maybe NRS has all these rules that they collected over the years data, and they have them pinned on characters. So what we need to do is we need to get NRS to get rid of these rules, so that way MK12 could be rule-free.
Yeah, the
Like,
only
it
rule
just-
I would say they're definitely following right now is being conservative.
Yeah, it just seems like for Sonya, if she has a 50-50, at this point forward, with their new style of doing MK, 50-50 for Sonya anywhere on the screen means rings, 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 and more rings, and a drone drop. Because she can't have leg grab, she can't have kiss, she can't have cartwheel, she can't have square boost. Sub-Zero, another one. 50-50, you can't have clone, which wouldn't work in this game anyway. You can't have
Well, that's not true because MKX had clone and 50-50, so
in
that's not one of the
Rio, I'll
rules.
say it again very slowly. Though in the direction they are going in current Mortal Kombat going in the future, it seems in their new, more balanced version, they say, like, I'm all for the 50-50, but I'm not for the rule that says make a choice. Do you want these 10 moves or do you want an overhead? Sonya, do you want these 10 moves or do you want an overhead? Sindel, do you want a little more variety in how you play or do you want a full screen crushing blow screamed? Shao Kahn, do you want this? Scarlet, do you, I mean, like, it just, I don't know. It doesn't make,
So how do we get rid of the rules?
Well,
I mean, I don't know if there is
because
set
right
in
now-
rules, but it
right
just
now
seems
we
like
have
it's
the
going
issue.
that way. Scarlet, you can't have a zoning character who's good in footsies up close, and then we have Cetrion, and the Scarlets are like, "What the fuck rule is this?"
well, we didn't have the rules, and everyone hated it. That's the point I'm trying to make. This is what you guys are forgetting. We were there. There were no rules. It was literally the Wild West, and everybody hated it because they were tired of fighting characters.
Because they were a little too over the top in what they did. We were fine with what they did, just not how far they went. Like, you could have combo creativity, just don't let it be 100%. Like stuff like that. NRS
Well, here's the
would
thing.
kind of go that route.
Here's the thing, because when you have these characters that have the kitchen sink, you either give everybody the kitchen sink, in which case no one's special, in which case certain aspects of their game plan cannot be too good. Like if
They all had
Sonya,
the kitchen sink in their own way.
yeah, but what I'm saying is, if Sonya is supposed to be
No,
the
they all
runner,
didn't. Some of them
theoretically,
didn't.
right? If she's supposed to be one of the characters with stronger projectiles, and she has a great mid-range game, and she has 50-50s too, you have to make the zoning weaker to balance all that out.
Then why give her the 50-50?
If you do that, then people like Dave will not be happy because they can't sit there in the zone. So it's tough.
What are you talking about? She had, even in MK9, she had a great projectile, but she couldn't, with her projectile, she couldn't zone the best zoning characters in the game. So she was.
Yeah, like there
Yeah,
were
but-
some characters that were
The-
made that just
the
made
answer
no
is-
sense.
Dave,
Like
no one-
The answer is very simple. You need
Dave.
traditional archetypes to get this to work. But
Dave,
in
no
this-
one who didn't play a top 5 character in MK9 thinks Sonya was fine. The complaint was literally that she was stupid and she had the kitchen
No,
sink. She
you
had
literally
everything.
just talked about the zoning. I literally didn't care about the zoning. Needed a Kenshi, but needed a.
I didn't care about her zoning at all.
No,
Yeah,
the point I'm making is that if you do what Tom says, right, where she can have a little of this, a little of that, a little of this, the issue is that one of those areas can't be too strong.
Well,
With
then
some-
she shouldn't have the 50-50, Krim. That's my point. If you say, you know what, we don't want to sacrifice her rings because she's always had stuff like that, and whatever. But in giving, it seems like in giving, I'm just, again, I don't mean to harp on a character. Just for example, Sonya, because every time I see a Sonya player on stream, whether I'm doing the Diddle Dome, the title is she's bad. I have no mids. These are the variation names I'm seeing with Sonya, and I took note on that over the last few weeks. That every single Sonya player is like, why don't I have mids? Why all I do is rings. It's because I feel like, and I feel like they took this route with a lot of characters. They give you a permanent fixture that's separate from the variation system that you cannot swap in or out, and they penalize you based on that permanent fixture. They say, I know it's about freedom, but we must penalize your freedom because we gave you this. And I feel like they do that with some characters. Sonya is one of them. I'm sure they're thinking, bro, you want the projectiles, right? And then you want to be able to come in and what? Mix into cartwheel, launcher, anywhere on the screen, mix in the kiss, combo starter, anywhere on the screen. Why can't they just say, let's make her more diverse? You can still be aggressive without a 50-50. She didn't, the most offensive Sonya has ever been, overpowering, she didn't have a 50-50 at all. And that was her most overpowering offensive form. And that was in a game where everybody was more overpowered, even more so than MKX.
But
You can
Tom,
have-
I think people are missing the point. Sonya was not an issue when the game came out. She was actually relatively good. Like the problem is NRS messed up by nerfing her. Why did they nerf her?
You think
They should have toned her down. When the game launched, she was a good character.
But even
The problem
even
isn't that
they still
the problem
made more
isn't that she
rules,
has
right? They
rings
made
and she
more
can't do
rules.
50-50s.
More rules.
No, okay, but my point is the problem with Sonya isn't that she has rings and these 50-50. The problem is NRS messed up by nerfing her when she was a good
Rules.
character.
Yeah, I
Why
know.
did they do
We
that?
agree.
But it seems
So
like
instead of these hashtags being Sonya has no mid, these hashtags should be why did NRS nerf her? Because she didn't need
because
to get
here's
nerfed.
why.
Well,
Because
if
people are
Tom,
complaining. She has a
Yep.
50-50, right, Dave?
Tom. Well, if people put why did NRS do this in their as their whatever variation name, they're gonna get banned anyway, so they can't obviously do that. So
Obviously they can.
No, actually they can't get banned because these tournaments aren't
They
the
covered the
official
name
NRS
up.
one. And also NRS they covered her name, so
Well,
that's
covered
not
the
a factor
names.
anymore.
I think hold on. I think according to my clock, we're hour and a half in. I'm gonna give King Jr. the last word. Then I'm
Yeah.
gonna say a word about certain guests who don't want to come on, and that's gonna wrap up the podcast. King Jr., but you have the last.
Yeah, Franco, you have the last word. Sorry, and I want to ask you: do you really think Sonya should be reverted back to how she was? She wasn't a problem character, right?
I would be fine with reverting her because you would give her launcher back and more creative combos. I would just maybe tone down her damage just a little bit.
Again,
That's really it.
I want Franco
But-
to answer this then, since Rio didn't. Go ahead, Franco, because I want you to answer this question.
What, the one that
Say-
he just asked me, or
No, like say like Dragon in his thing, he said, I wish I could go to NRS and ask them and say yada yada yada. And you go to them, NRS. You know, we did a podcast. We want to know why was Sonya nerfed. The same thing Rio said. And they said, well, people were complaining, right? She's got the zoning, she mixes
But who was
you,
complaining
and then
about Sonya?
come on, man. And then she's got the damage. And if they say, in our opinion, based on what we've heard, Sonya cannot have this type of damage and the zoning and the 50-50 and have 1K health. What would you
And
say
have
to
block
that?
dashing.
What would you say if they said you can't have all of that?
I'd be like, why not? I mean,
Yeah, tell them to get rid of the rules.
Dave,
I mean-
weren't people complaining about her mixing you into big damage?
Oh, I mean, okay, again,
Yeah, but that
Guys,
was hype.
we're going in circles right now.
Tom
mean-
literally just asked Franco his own talking point.
Yeah,
Let's
no,
let
no,
Franco
no,
actually-
I just
Tom,
want to know. I just want to
Tom,
know
we already know what the answer-
because the question is that because
Tom,
like
Tom, we
it's
gotta
like
wrap it up. We gotta wrap it
Let
up.
the
We
man-
gotta-
So in a way, you could say that NRS killed Sonya in this game. In a way,
I
they
was
could say
looking
that.
for an answer based
Guys,
on. I wanted
guys.
an actual. I was like, Franco, how would you deal with that? And Franco's like, I would just say, why not?
No, but he gave you
How
his
would
answer
you-
because he would say that.
Guys,
We would all say that. We would all ask
guys,
NRS, why
okay.
did you do that?
Guys, gotta wrap it up.
Let's let Franco have like an
I
actual.
Let
actually
him-
wanted
let-
to answer
let
the
him have
question,
him-
not why not.
Yeah.
Let him have his last
his
word.
actual last statement.
But that is Franco's answer though. He would ask why
No,
not.
yeah, I
Because
mean,
that's what
like,
a lot of us would say that. Like, why would you do
And then
that?
give the man his last word, and please stop interrupting him. Go
Franco,
ahead.
you no more questions asked. Just whatever
Yeah,
you
I'm
want
done.
to say here.
Just
Stay.
don't
Thank
answer
you.
anyway.
Thank you.
so am I still answering the
No.
No,
question?
No.
we already
Anything you-
know. We got it.
any-
Why not? We got it, man.
Anything
I mean,
you-
I was
Get
just,
rid of the rules.
I would just be like, is there a certain rule or vision you guys are trying to follow?
Franco,
or
you're not
something?
listening.
Like-
You're not listening. Give us your last word. It doesn't have to be related
The
to
last
any-
word.
Oh,
man.
okay, okay.
Just-
All right, just my own last word.
Yeah, yes, please.
All right, cool. I just hope there is something in the future for MK11 as far as a patch goes, because, like I said, I love competing, but this is the most stressful game that I've competed in, and that's why I stepped away. And I'm hoping to come back, assuming that there's something heading our direction in the future for like a patch. And seeing all these people play and we play and stuff, it makes me want to like grind the game and stuff and try and compete for that chance to travel outside of the country for money, because I actually haven't been outside the US before. I still need to get a passport. So I hope at some point there is a time that NRS addresses the game enough that would make me come back into competing, because I do miss competing and I would like to just play again. That's like the thing I'm hoping for as far as NRS goes and MK11. Especially with this new life cycle that we're possibly having with the games. Like, instead of every 2 years we have a new game and already know it's coming next, we don't know when the next title is going to be and what it is. So yeah,
All right.
that's like my last word. Just to hope to be able to compete again.
All right. Well, I would like to thank, first of all, my co-hosts, Crimson, Rio, Tom, Brady, and our special guest, King Jr., aka Burrito Voorhees. Thank you so much for joining us. And just to our audience, because I've seen the YouTube comments, people ask, why doesn't, for example, Tweety come on Perfect Legend? They don't want to come on because, primarily because of me with Tweety. He has a personal agenda against me. And as far as Perfect Legend goes, he doesn't like me and he doesn't like Crimson. So you guys have asked, they're your answers. They don't want to come on because they're soft. With that said, thank you so much for listening.